Her funeral. I already knew that having to go down to her funeral, there's going to potentially be some hostility from her side of the family. My assumption. I talked things over with Ike, and Ike and I agreed that we would go down there with the boys so they can pay respects to their mother. Remember in that one video when I said that that is an important thing to know? Now it's a good time to know why that was important to know. So we drive down there and we get there early, and we're just waiting outside of the funeral home before the service starts. And while we're sitting there, we're waiting for things to start, dawned on me, this will be an open casket funeral. I asked them, do you guys want to see your mother? And they all said no. We get the call from her sister saying that they're waiting on us to walk them into the funeral home. I look at her casket. I see her. The boys can't see her yet. And at the time, Ike is talking to the boy's aunt. And as I'm looking at her casket and just kind of scanning the room, who do I see beside her casket crying? Pretty much insinuated that her mother passed away. Insinuating text messages suggesting her mother died down to Carolina temporarily to help her dying mother. To her saying in court that her mother had died. So her mother. As soon as I see that, I hear him get Ike's attention, like, yo, 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 look who's here, look who's here. And he looks and he sees it was her mother. And he was like, oh my God, she really lied about her mom being dead. And I was like, yo, I can't believe it. We go up there and we go to view the body. I needed hardcore proof she was dead. So I needed to see a body. So, yeah, that's her. Ike got a little emotional. I was like, whatever. To the boys, they were standing with her sister. And I told the boys, hey, look, mommy looks good. You know, did y'all want to see her? And the oldest one said no. Asked the middle one. He said no. Asked the baby boy. He said no. So then the funeral director comes up and he said they're getting ready to start service. And he asked the aunt, did the boys want to see their mom before they close the casket to start the service? All the boys went like this. He said, all right, we're getting ready to start. So, you know, you have to have that family lineup before you go into the funeral and whatever. And family lineup would be her sister and the boys because her mother was in a wheelchair and her brother was already situated up front. So right when I'm standing off to the side to let them go walk with their aunt, because it's the family walk-in. I ain't family. When they're walking in, all the boys are kind of slowing up their pace and they're all looking at me like, hey, where you going? Where you going? I'm like, yo, I'm gonna be right here with you. I ain't going nowhere. Y'all gonna be in my eyesight the whole time. She's like, no, you walk with us too. So I'm like, okay. So when she tells me that, I look back, tell Ike, yo, walk with us. Ike gone. No, Ike went, but he was gone. And I turn back around. I'm seeing from where I'm positioned at, they never closed the casket. And I'm sitting there like, okay, they didn't close the casket. Maybe they'll look away. Maybe we should move them to the chairs quickly. No, he takes all three boys and pushes them in front of their mother's open casket. By the time I got there, I could tell at least the oldest and the baby boy definitely got a good look. The middle one was everywhere. He won't looking down. I got there, that's when she went ahead and moved him to the right so they can sit down. And then they close the casket. And once the service starts for a little bit going on, Ike pops back up. When they finished with the service, you know, they took the casket and wheeled it. So it was by the front door of the foyer and the casket open. I guess so people can get one last viewing. So of course the family gets up, goes out first. Already wheeled her mom out in the wheelchair, and they had her mom in a wheelchair next to her casket taking pictures. Then when the boys came along, they wanted the boys to stop and take pictures next to their mom's coffin that's open and their grandma. And the way the boys were positioned, the one kid who actually was told their grandma was dead standing next to her, and you could tell by his facial expression, he wasn't all that comfortable. Me and Ike are looking like, yo, they don't look comfortable. They don't look comfortable. And we're looking at him like, yo, y'all don't want to do this. Y'all come over here with us and y'all stop that. Baby boy decided to walk away from it. And some lady came out of nowhere and just stretched her arm and just like, baby, go back over there. Because she didn't get her picture she wanted. And I'm looking at him like, remember the brief I gave you? I need you to say, Dad, help me help you. He didn't do it. He went ahead and finished taking his pictures, and then he shot back over to me. People walked up to me, you know, saying sorry for your loss, you know, because that was my last wife. And, you know, people seemed to know who I was. Nobody knew who Ike was. One person came up to him, asked who he was, and he explained, you know, I'm the first husband. And I believe a second person came up to him, and he was like, I was the first husband. Then the third person, mind you, the third person came up to Ike when he was standing next to the oldest one. They looked just alike. They were dressed alike. They went up to the oldest one and told him, sorry for your loss, sorry for losing your mother. Then they turned to look at Ike and said, how are you related to the deceased? I was the first husband. After that point, whenever people came up and said, sorry for your loss, he would just automatically say, I was the first husband. I was the first husband. Like, didn't say no thank you or nothing. We're getting ready to leave out to go to the cemetery. One of her relatives were talking to me, and I was trying to rush the conversation. And I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, we're going to see you there? I'm like, yeah, we'll see us there. And he's like, cool, I'll see you at the repass. I was like, oh. I went to Ike. I said, yo, we got to go to the repass. He's like, why we got to go to the repass? I actually told the dude we're going to the repass. He's like, how you do that? I thought he was going to say, see you at the cemetery, and then we won't roll out. But then he said, repass. He's like, well, just don't go to repass. I was like, bro, I can't not go because I guarantee you their mom said lies about me, and I don't want to do any actions to justify her false words against me. He's like, all right, that's a good point. So we'll go there, eat, boys say hello to whoever, and we roll out. I said, bet. We leave out to go to the cemetery. We get there. Me and Ike get out, and we're walking there, and we're trying to make sure the boys stay with the family, so, you know, they can sit in those first rows, you know, where they have the casket at. And when the hearse pulls up, you know, we're already out, and we're trying to walk. The funeral director comes up to us and says, hey, can y'all help us carry the casket? I looked at the dude and said, I don't think it's a good idea for me to do that. And then I turned and looked for Ike. Ike is gone again. Where he went, but he was gone. So dude went back, got someone else, and they brought it over. And then Ike comes back again when I'm trying to get the boys situated in the chairs. I can't remember if it was an uncle or somebody. He sees me and Ike says, hey, you two, sit here and here. So the seats that set us here and here would put me in the front row. I believe Ike was right behind me. It's me, their aunt, the boys, her brother, and the mother. And service going on. Everyone finally gets there to get ready to start. And I turn back to look for Ike. Ike is gone again. He didn't gave a seat to some old lady. They go through the whole thing. Ashes, yada yada yada. That was the service. We had to go to the repast. The repast was just pretty much a cookout, family home. I didn't bring a change of clothes. I just had on my funeral clothes. Whoever the uncle was, whoever said, hey, I know it's hot out here. Just get comfortable. Unbutton your shirts. We all family, yada yada. So I started unbuttoning my shirt, and I stopped and said, "Ooh, can't do this." So I buttoned it back up, and then Ike's like, "What's wrong?" And then right when Ike said, "What's wrong?" the oldest one goes like, "Oh yeah, you can't take your shirt off because then that tattoo will show." And I was like, "Yeah, so shut up." And the middle one go, "You mean that tattoo you got a mom's face where it's a?" Just stop talking. So I had to sit there and just burn up. And me burning up and say, "All right, it's time for us to go." Said our goodbyes. Of course, numbers were exchanged, yada yada yada, and we left. And that was her funeral.